Welcome back, you filthy exiles. So, I've had a few people ask me what have I done since in the build for Shield Crush, and this is the video that I'm going to do as maybe the final update as an addendum to the build guide. So I did make some final changes, and I'll run through some things in here. Cost a little bit. Some things in here were just some minor tweaks, but I'll provide a new POB in the. There's my hand. In the description down below with what I've done, and maybe a small change vlog as well, just to go through the changes that I'll talk to here. So, off the last time, wrong button. Off the last time I was using an All's Uprising, I've actually scrapped that now. I ended up selling that for like 10 or 15x, I can't remember, to fund all the other things that I've been trying to play and FR totems. So, currently where we're at, Ursine Pelt, I'll just go through the gearing, gem setups, only slight minor changes, but I did manage to get a Mortal Call into this. And I did change I did get a Watcher's Iron, but funnily enough, you'll notice something weird about the chest, which I've done, which is a little bit different to deal with making sure that I get impale. The end overlap damage is about 4.5 mil combined DPS, it's just flat, at about 8.53 APS. So it's pretty damn fast, and it's tanky as fuck. It's now got a Mortal Call, 1600 leech. It's got a lot of really good shit in this build. Very tanky, can do everything. Some people will say, oh, but Jorgen, the DPS could be higher. Yeah, if I wanted to go and spend like 10 mirrors on cold conversion, I could, but this is more achievable for the everyday gamer, so, you know, let's just calm down about that one. But anyway, I digress. So, Helm. Literally life, all resist where I can get it. This isn't the best Helm that I could have, but it's good. Gets the job done. If I get negative physical damage to surrounding enemies or whatever, that would be even better, but I haven't invested that far. But I did wind it back to where I had a 10% increased Shield Crush attack speed enchant, which gives me a lot more DPS, so that was good. Now, shield, I did almost get a 3000 armor shield. I did switch this out just a little bit. And now I have 1 minimum endurance charges as well, which is nice to have that. It's just walking on a map, you automatically have that additional resistance and survivability, so that's nice. And this was a Warlord Enchanted Shield too, to get that craft on that. But we pretty much maxed out the shield, so, you know, I think current league, yeah, about 3.5x shield, so nice and expensive. I can't do this just yet. Helm is really cheap, except maybe not with that enchant. Yeah, dirt cheap. Same sword, no change. I could get a better sword with a double corrupt, but I couldn't see the point of that. These are now pretty cheap now as the league has progressed. Yeah, these are pretty cheap. Gloves, I did switch out to Hemophilia with vulnerability on hit. These cost me 4x at the time. They were not cheap. Still not cheap, they're probably averaging 10x, so, you know, we've already got a fair bit of X sunk into this already from that. Now, you'll notice the ring setup is different. So what I did with the amulet is I actually went back to having a Pride has 23% reduced mana reduction or reservation reduction, but I also have +1 to all physical skill gems, which goes +1 to my anomalous shield crush. That's already level 21. Which pushes it to level 22. Now, if you really wanted to go crazy with this, and if you can find it for somewhat of an affordable price, you could also go +1 to all strength gems. And that will be a +2 amulet. The last time I checked, this wasn't easy or cheap to acquire. Yeah, about 4 to 8 exalt. The other one, yeah, goes in, with the high peak, someone's trying to hawk one off for 50 exalt. I got mine for about 3 or 4 exalt. This though, if you get the +1 to strength, you can play a base of like 20 exalt, something like that. So it's really, you know, how much more do you want to push the damage up? So when people are like, oh, your damage isn't high enough, I'm basically like, fucking bullshit, it's not. Some of this gear isn't cheap to get for the everyday player. Alright, so 2 rings. I have both Vermilion rings. This is to give me 7% life, all resist, base health or base life, and also then I've just crafted on adds physical damage to attacks. Nice and simple. I'll talk about how I've worked this as well when I get there. But basically, originally I think we had a vulnerability on hit ring. Because we've moved that to our gloves now, we don't need that on our ring, so we can switch the ring to survivability, which is good for this build to make it a lot more tanky. Now, the chest is important. This is not the best chest armor that I have, because I have a cursed piece of armor that just will not fucking 6-link. And because I've been playing other builds, I haven't been focusing on it. But this is pretty good armor. This is actually quite cheap now in the league. So this one will set you back, you know, not too much. Actually, sorry, 3 to 8 exalt. It's got a lot of HP stacked on it, so you know it does well, and it's got all you know, pretty good resist, or okay resist, not pretty good, okay, and a lot of strength. Now with the links in this, I'll talk about links actually after. You'll notice they're all red, but we'll talk about that after. So there's no impale gem in this build, and there's a good reason for that. So gloves, as I said, curse on hit, vulnerability on hit, hemophilia. You know, pretty commonsensical for this build. Not much to say there. Belts. I did go for an Elder Belt with a percentage maximum life roll and flat maximum life. Now, this is not the best belt that I could get, but these are not cheap. And what you'll notice is it has 12% maximum life plus 115 life. So actually, these are pretty cheap. Up to probably 2x, 1 to 2x for one of these. Really good for min-maxing the shit out of your health pool. As you can see, this build's nearly over 7k HP. For people who previously like, I don't have enough health, 7k HP is plenty, considering we've got a fair few damage layers on the defense layers on this build as well. Now boots, no real change to boots, pretty much the same boots as before. Now, the big change is how I've kitted out the chest link setup. So I have actually introduced a Watcher's Eye into the build, and I basically went and got a, now if you get the impale, does an extra impale, those Watcher's Eyes cost shitloads. They do buff your damage up, but if you're still working to a certain budget and you just don't have the time to afford a 20x duel, this is a cheaper alternative. I think these are, how much are these? It's not giving me the stat. God damn it. Anyway, alright. I think I got this for like 80 chaos or something like that at the time. They're probably a little more expensive, but the important thing is this 25% chance to impale enemies on hit with attacks while using pride. What this means is I can then take impale out of my setup, and I still do pretty damn solid impale. I think I've got 85% chance to impale on hit, and I'm hitting at, you know, close to 8.53 APS at maximum speed. So the chance that you're going to impale is you're essentially impaling constantly anyway. So it makes no real difference. What it did mean is it was an easy way to rework the rest of my gem setup, so I could introduce Fortify into my 6 link and always have Fortify up, so that I wouldn't have to give up these nodes to switch to, you know, using, what was I going to say, Immortal Call. Because Immortal Call, funnily enough, makes this build really fucking pop. So the new links in the new setup links, and you'll see in the POB, is in the Helm I am using Ancestral Protector and War Chief still, Culling Strike and multiple totems. Pretty straightforward. In the shield, Flesh and Stone, Blood and Sand, Pride. So we're still doing blind. We still have max block. We still have pride. In fact, I have a level 21 pride, and this is buffed to level 22 with my amulet. And then obviously Blood and Sand. My gem setups now, I do have 20% gems in here. I do have Awaken Melee Physical Damage. I didn't get Awaken Brutality. It's just negligible, the difference between a Awaken Brutality for the price, but you know, if you got the currency, do it. And obviously I started playing other builds, so you know, Bob's your uncle. Now, in my gloves, I do have Reckoning, Dread Banner, Enduring Cry, and Onslaught. Now, when my Reckoning pops, I pop Onslaught. So that way I have Onslaught popping whenever I, you know, essentially block and kill an enemy. Or block and hit a boss. So bossing and then blocking on a boss then procs Onslaught, or has a 39% chance to grant Onslaught. Sorry, 10% chance to grant Onslaught for 3 seconds, which is really useful in a boss fight. Now in my boots, this is where I've made the biggest change. I am running Leap Slam, Immortal Call, Life Tap, and Cast when damage taken. It's really important that you have life tap attached into this setup. Because now you might say, oh, it doesn't have speed. To be honest with you, once you've got your blood rage up and everything, and you've got so much APS, you don't need to run attack speed with your leap slam. And because now I've managed to integrate fortify into my chest, I no longer need leap slam to proc fortify, which actually makes fortify a lot more reliable and almost has 100% uptime until you're moving to the next pack to kill them. What this means also is if you've got life tap triggered on your immortal call, instead of triggering from mana, it's triggering from your life pool, which means you can run around with fuck all mana and you can crank that out. And because Enduring Cry is the only real skill that's taking up mana as well as your blood rage, that's the only thing that your mana needs to regenerate to restore. And that means you can keep it up for longer. This, for me, was much more sustainable in generating endurance charges, much more sustainable in mapping, much more sustainable in boss fights. Having Immortal Call made it just another layer of damage mitigation. So you have Blind with Blood and Sand. Flesh and Stone. You have Blind and damage reduction. You've got Max Block. You've got Immortal Call. You've got Fortify, you have huge amounts of armor, you have max capped resistances at all times. The only thing that can get you down is chaos resistance and a little bit of dot. And the way we get around that is we have poison, a trigger on poison chaos flask or an amethyst flask, so it gives me poison immunity. And then we also have a basalt flask, which does a bit of taunt. And I have chill immunity, and that triggers when I become chilled. Chilled and freeze immunity, and that triggers when I become chilled. And then obviously bleed immunity or corrupted blood immunity with a staunching flask. Pretty much deals with all forms of dot. It's not perfect with chaos, but it brings the damage down with chaos. And then we've also got Soul of Arakali, which reduces dot over time. And then I've also got Soul of Shikari, which reduces poison dot over time, basically dealing with the rest of the problems in this game. It's not 100% foolproof when versing Hunter. That can still cause a bit of grief for me, but pretty much at the end of the day, this does the job, and currently I'm happy with where it's at. The reason why I stopped playing it, quite frankly, killing my wrist. So I switched to FR totems, and I've got a build guide coming out for that in the next few days as well. Which is at A8 Cyrus into A9 Cyrus. Both of these builds can do, or this can do Maven. In fact, I pretty much switched into this build while I was end bossing with FR and balancing FR, so that I could kill Cyrus and just farm currency. In fact, I was just smashing Cyrus deathless and farming shitloads of currency. I got to like nearly 400 delve before I just stopped delving because I got bored. Yeah, pretty much does everything in the game. You can Maven with it, you can take down all the Crystal King. In fact, you can just face tank the Crystal King with this motherfucker. It'll take down the, oh Jesus, what's the other one? From the Twisted or whatever. Can't remember, but it pretty much does everything in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much the update. A bit of a wordy video, it's 13 minutes long. Didn't intend it to be that long, but I thought I'd explain it. Now the tree itself, I've made no changes to the tree. I've left the tree as it is. The only change that I made was introducing a Watcher's Eye. I'll put all this in the POB, in the description. I might write some notes in the description, otherwise I think it pretty much covers off the changes in this video. If you were running into survivability problems, this will solve it. With the previous build setup, you can switch it out and you can get up to nearly 5 mil DPS. I think this dropped my DPS by about 400k. Unfortunately, where the game is and where we're at with GGG and how it's managing PoE, we sort of have to pick and choose between do you build damage or do you build survivability, and the difference when you get to level 94 is your XP bar when you lose 10%, that's like a lot of grinding. So anyway, if this video helps you, like and sub, drop a comment, feel free to ask questions. This is pretty much at the end point that I'm pretty much happy with. Now, I can push it a little bit more, and I might before the end of the league, but I am focusing on a couple of other builds and different content for PoE, so I may not get back to this one and do anything further with it, so I guess we'll take this as the definitive, this is where I'm going to leave this build for now. and I'm happy with it. It does everything in the game to the point where I've just gotten bored of playing it because it just slays everything. And yeah, anyway, until next time, have a good one, and bye.